Hey, so this month we are talking about time management systems, tips, tricks, things. Time management for moms, particularly, but even if you're not a mom, you could probably get some value from some of these things because they kind of are universal. So last week we talked about PM routines, and we've been having a fantastic conversation about that over in my Facebook group, where we kind of get in on a daily basis of just getting in and hashing things out on the nitty gritty, chatting, helping each other strategize, and all those things. So if you want to be a part of that, link in the description, you can go join the Facebook group and we'll talk about that. The Facebook group is the Living the Simply Joyful Life, by the way. Okay, so let's talk about the next routine that I want to talk about today, okay? So last week we talked about PM routines. Today we're going to talk about AM routines. So once you have, I always recommend starting with the PM routine personally, and I can get into more of that later. But I like to start with a PM routine because I feel like it kind of doesn't matter what time I get up. It doesn't matter. Like, it helps set my next day up for success so that it makes my AM routine easier. If that makes sense. So if you haven't watched last week's video, go back and watch it. Because I really think that starting with a PM routine sets you up to make your AM routine go smoother. So, AM routine. Here's the deal. I mentioned this last week, but I'm going to say it again this week. We already have routines. Okay? You already have a routine. So if you're hearing me say like, oh, we were going to develop AM, PM, whatever routines, and you're like, oh my gosh, that sounds like a lot of work. I don't know what to do. You're already doing it. You're already doing it on autopilot. All I'm doing is bringing attention to it and giving you an opportunity to intentionally develop things and maybe make some slight course corrections if you realize what you're doing is not working for you, and incorporate things that are. So bringing some intentionality to it. You're already on autopilot in certain areas. Let's bring some intentionality and create that intentionality and then put that on autopilot. For example, you probably brush your teeth just about every morning. You probably brush your hair, or at least do your hair, right? Like, I don't brush my hair because curls, but you brush your hair, you do your hair, whatever. You do something to it. Maybe you put on makeup. Typically, you probably put on clothes, right? Like, there's certain things that you do without doing a ton of thinking. Use the bathroom. Get on your phone and scroll, right? These are things that we just kind of sometimes automatically do in the morning. So here's the deal. Instead of going on autopilot in that, let's create some intentionality with our AM routines. Our morning, how we spend our morning is really going to help set us up for the rest of the day. And just like an evening routine will kind of help set you up for a successful next day, continuing that flow of having a morning routine is going to set you up to have your day flow. Now, there's a couple of different schools of thought when it comes to AM routines, and I'm going to say something that might be controversial. You ready for it? Kind of doesn't matter. There's multiple schools of thought. I'm going to talk about the different schools of thought, but here's the deal. The best one is the one that works for you. There's a reason why there's multiple schools of thought, because not all of them work for everybody. So if you're following somebody who's like, okay, in order to have a successful day, you must do A, B, and C in the morning. No. If it works for you, great. But if you are having to force yourself and it's awful and it's super, super, super painfully hard, maybe you need a different system. Just gonna throw that out there. For example, one of the coaches that I follow, actually multiple people that I follow, talk about how getting up and doing a bunch of things, getting up by like 4 or 5 a.m. and getting a whole bunch of stuff done before 8 a.m. is like the key to success. Okay, maybe you guys follow some people like this. A lot of these are they're really great people. I have no problem with them. I think that they're wonderful. And obviously what they're doing is working for them because they are successful business people and entrepreneurs and coaches and whatever. However, one thing that also none of the people that I'm talking to really deal with is they don't have 2-year-olds waking up in the middle of the night. I do. Okay, so when I have a coach telling me, oh, you just need to get up at 4 a.m. or 5 a.m. and do all these things before 8 a.m., I'm like, if I get up at 5 a.m., I'm going to be operating on 3 hours of sleep because my 2-year-old is still waking up in the middle of the night because he's teething or whatever, growing pains, whatever is causing him to wake up. I still have children, and my 4-year-old still doesn't sleep through the night. Like, I still have kids who don't sleep through the night. So there might be a day here or there where it works, where I do get up earlier and it's great because I got a full night of sleep. But most of the time, my sleep is still interrupted. So getting up at 5 a.m., no. Okay? So all that to say, there's different schools of thought. None of them are the secret sauce magic formula unless it works for you. Pick the one that works for you. So there might be some trial and error involved in figuring out what works for you. Okay? There's the people that are like, have a very specific time that you wake up, get up early no matter what. Even if you only got 3 hours of sleep, you still get up at this time and blah, blah, blah. Hey, you know what? If that works for them, fantastic. Go ahead and do that. If that works for you, fantastic. You do that. There's other people who kind of have, and for myself personally, this is what tends to work better for me at the moment, is more of the school of thought of knowing their body and knowing I need at least X many hours of sleep. So, for example, I function best if I have at least 8 hours of sleep a night, and some people it's only 6 hours of sleep. Some people it's 5, some people it's 5. I actually know somebody who's 5. Anyway, some people it's 5, some people it's 6, some people it's 8, some people it's 10, some people it's 12. I mean, everybody's a little different. What is the optimal sleep window for you? How many hours? Minimum of X many hours. And aim to be in bed for that plus, like, say 30 minutes, because it might take you a little bit to fall asleep. So, and then just kind of adjust bedtime and wake up times based on that. So if you go to bed at 9 p.m. and you operate best by having 8 hours of sleep, you shoot for, that would actually mean you probably could wake up at 5 a.m., right? Or if you're staying up till 11 having a conversation with a teenager and you know your body functions best with 9 hours of sleep, well, you're going to sleep until 9 the next day, 8 the next day. Anyway, my point with all this is wake up time is just one piece of an AM routine, because ultimately, here's the deal. So there's a lot of schools of thought when it comes to what time to wake up, okay? And my opinion is find what works for you. Okay? When it comes to waking up. But you're going to wake up at some point. I do recommend trying to avoid having your children be your alarm clock. It's not always unavoidable, especially if you have littles. Because sometimes they're the ones that kept you up all night, and then they wake up and you're like, oh my word, I still need more sleep. But if you are in a season where you can overall avoid, get up at least 30 minutes to an hour before your kids and try to aim for that, that often helps a lot, because you have at least a little bit of time before anybody needs you that you can kind of breathe and center yourself and just be. And I really think that that's very important. Anyway, so morning routines. When we develop morning routines, the whole goal about routines is to just be intentional, okay? What habits, what routines, what daily occurrences or things that you can do at the beginning of your day to set yourself up for success. For example, personally, I aim to wake up about an hour before my kids. If I can get it 2 hours before my kids, I'm thrilled. But I aim to get up maybe about an hour before my kids so that I can at least get some quiet time with the Lord in, that I can read my Bible, I can sit for a few minutes in silence by myself with no one needing me, and I can just breathe. One of my very favorite people to follow as a mentor person in the social media world, and just wonderful person, is Sally Clarkson. She talks about getting up and having a cup of tea and your quiet time in the morning before your kids wake up. I love that. I think that's fantastic. It's not always super realistic, again, if you have little kids, but that's a good goal. So that's usually my goal, is to get up enough time to have at least some quiet time with the Lord before my children wake up. Getting dressed, putting on some real clothes, even if that means that I'm putting on yoga pants and a t-shirt, but it's not the same clothes I slept in, okay? Putting on clothes that are different from the ones you slept in really can help. Ideally, dressing for success, getting dressed, putting on some makeup, just getting yourself presentable so that if you have to run out for some reason, or if somebody were to show up at your door, you're feeling presentable and put together. But again, sometimes that's not realistic for whatever reason. People are sick, whatever. But doing little things that will help you feel ready to take on the day are going to be beneficial in the AM routine. So overall, kind of the goal of an AM routine is to set your day up for success. Give yourself some time to kind of center, take a breath, pray, have time with the Lord. and face the day with a full cup, because especially as a mom, you're going to be constantly pouring out all day, right? So you need to make sure that you take that time to fill your cup. This week, we're going to be talking even more about this in my Facebook group. So if you want to join in on the conversation, click the link in the description and it'll take you over to the Facebook group. All right, I will see you all there, and I will talk to you later. Bye.